welcome back to Larson in the Lab. This is station 3 of our Properties of Water Lab, and I'm going to be testing the pH of several different substances here. What I have is some indicator paper. It came in this tube that has a little piece of, well, it's basically a chart to tell me what the pH is, and I use these little pieces of indicator paper, and I'm going to dip them into each of these substances to see the pH of these materials. So I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 indicator papers that have never been used before, and I'm going to show you how these different liquids show up on this pH scale, on this indicator paper pH scale. So you can see that it goes from 1 to 6, and then it goes up from 7 to 14. Remember that 1 through 7 is going to be an acid, and if it's higher than 7, it's a base, and if it's exactly 7, it's neutral. So here we go. I'm going to also record my data in this chart, and I'll give you a picture to let you know the data at the end of the lab. First, I'm going to do vinegar. Here's vinegar, and I'm dipping my pH indicator paper there. It's turned kind of a pinkish shade. I'm comparing that to the chart here, and what you can see is that's about a pH of 3. Well, maybe 2. I'm seeing a pH 2 as it develops. Somewhere in between 3 and 2. I'm going to say 2.5. It's somewhere in between there. pH of 2.5 for vinegar. All right, next up, I'm going to do milk. Here's milk. All right, it has a little white on it because of the milk, but it has actually indicated a pH that is close to neutral, somewhere between 6 and neutral here, closer to neutral. So I'm going to estimate here and say that I've got a pH of 7, which is fairly neutral. Think about that. That kind of makes sense, because if it's a cow, would they want to feed their baby something acidic or basic? Probably not. They want to give them something fairly neutral. Next up, I've got window cleaner. It's a little blue right now, but I'm going to dip in my indicator strip. And wow, it turned very dark blue. And if I'm comparing that on my pH scale, I'm noticing a pH of about 10 here, guys. pH of 10. That's very different than any of the substances we've had before. Next up, I have lime juice. This is lime juice. Ooh, that's turned reddish. Let's compare on the pH scale. All right, and it's looking like that is a pH of 3, possibly somewhere close to 2, but I'm going to say it's much closer to 3. So let's say a pH of 3 for our lime juice. And finally, last but not least, I've got water. Just came out of my little water bottle here. And it didn't do much to my indicator paper. That's reading a pH of about 7 or neutral. Thanks so much for listening to this one. I'll be posting your data so that you can see it visually as well.